Pastor Ed here from Hope Lutheran Church in Freehold, New Jersey with my 5 for 5 daily devotions. This one for Saturday, November the 19th, 2022. We wrap up our week of looking at the reading that we had last Sunday from 1 Kings and all about wisdom and when Solomon succeeded his father David as king and God asked Solomon what he wanted. He asked for what? An understanding and discerning mind, be able to govern his people. He asked for wisdom instead. And so yesterday we began looking at some other passages and verses in the Bible that talk about wisdom. From the book of Proverbs, which again, tradition has it that Solomon, because it's wisdom literature, that Solomon actually wrote it. Proverbs 9 verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Then also in Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. So God will give you the wisdom. And then also in James in the New Testament, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. So like Solomon, we are invited to ask for wisdom. We also have a passage in Romans, the 12th chapter. Paul writes, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, so that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And so understanding God, having a right relationship with God, asking God for guidance and to give you wisdom will transform us. The tendency, of course, is for us to be conformed. Peer pressure, marketing and sales strategies that get us to do all sorts of things sometimes that we wouldn't otherwise be inclined to do. We're all about always trying to conform. And yet Paul asks us to be transformed so that we can discern what is God's will, what is good and acceptable and perfect. The gift of wisdom is to be able to discern right from wrong, good from evil in our lives and in the world. Then back to the book of James in the New Testament, who says, who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. And so then there's another layer to the whole idea of wisdom, that it's not only discerning how we should act, how we should behave, but then wisdom is demonstrated by the fact that we actually live out that wisdom, that by our actions, by the way we lead our lives, by how we interact with other people, will reflect that we're being transformed. We have a renewal of our mind through our faith, as Paul was talking about, that it causes us to be a little different, or at least to the best of our ability. And in our human frailty, we ultimately and tragically fail over and over again. But to try to show that kind, or demonstrate, I guess is what I'm trying to say here, demonstrate that kind of wisdom by how we live, how our lives are. Then in Matthew 7, everyone who hears these words of mine, Jesus talking here, and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. That parable of who listening to Jesus, and the wisdom is like building your house on a rock, not on the sand. We've seen all too often in recent years with terrible hurricanes and storms and so forth that the houses that are built on the shore, very often get damaged, sometimes beyond repair. Jesus is saying, sink, the pillars of your house, the footings in the solid rock, so that it will stand firm, even in times of testing. And then finally, from Philippians 1, a good one to finish up with. Paul writes, and it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. And so if if we're talking about trying to demonstrate our wisdom in how we live, Paul is encouraging that more and more we will demonstrate that kind of discernment, know what is right, know what is excellent, and therefore be prepared for the day of Christ, for the day of Christ's return. We're, of course, we're about to enter into the season of Advent when we start anticipating that. And actually, in my sermon tomorrow, you talk about that being prepared, being ready. Paul is asking us to be wise, to have discernment, to be ready. Not a bad way to end the week. Hope you've had some things to chew on and think about this week, and we'll pick it up again with daily devotions next Tuesday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.